Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. And Skyrim is a game that leaves very little room for boredom, as there's always something to keep your mind occupied, some goal to follow. But 6 years later, perhaps you have slayed every dragon, saved every guild, and completed every side quest. And now you're just looking for some other purpose in life. Well, fear not, because today we'll be taking yet another look at 5 things you probably didn't know you could do in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Part 6-ish, I think. Starting off, we all know and love, well, probably not love, the Thalmor. Agents of the Eldamari Dominion, bent on suppressing the worship of Talos across Skyrim. They serve somewhat as secondary antagonists to the game's main quest line. Well, did you know, you can actually join/befriend them. Sort of. You see, Undolamar is a high-ranking Thalmor agent who lives in Markarth's Understone Keep. We've discussed this high elf before on the channel. Like most of his peers, Undolamar's objective is to root out any and all Talos worship in the area, usually by force. He'll offer you a quest to break into the home of a city resident, whom he believes is still praying to the false god, and bring him back some form of proof that that is indeed what's happening. You'll ultimately discover a hidden amulet of Talos, which is all of the proof you need. Once you give the amulet to Undolamar, he'll promise to pursue the issue further, and then give you a rather generous sum of gold for all of your efforts. Now, something the game doesn't tell you is that after completing this quest, the Dragonborn will be assigned as a friend/ally to a Thalmor faction in Skyrim's files. This has little in-game consequences. But once the quest is over, you'll be able to loot items from the Thalmor headquarters in Solitude, without it being considered theft, as well as sleep in the location's beds. Additionally, certain Thalmor agents, though definitely not all of them, we'll get into that in a second, will now have a friendly disposition towards the player, Undolamar included. Though, you may have noticed that I mentioned you'll be assigned as a friend/ally to a Thalmor faction in Skyrim's files, not the Thalmor. The reason for this is that in Skyrim's database, the Thalmor are divided into multiple separate factions. There's a faction for the Thalmor at the Thalmor Embassy, as well as a separate one for the Thalmor you encounter in random encounters. So most of these evil high elves will remain pretty hostile to the player, provided you're far enough in the main questline. Just do keep that in mind. Next on our list, Britt and Sissel are 2 twin sisters living in Rorikstead, with their not-so-proud father, Lemkill. Unfortunately, the pair's mother died during childbirth, and their father Lemkill became pretty abusive and just angry afterwards. Sissel speaks of beatings, and Lemkill himself even speaks very poorly about his own 2 children. If that's not enough for you, clearly not having a good role model, Britt seems to have also taken to harassing and bullying her sister Sissel. It's all around just not a very good situation. Well, you can actually roleplay Child Protective Services, if being Dragonborn isn't enough, and rescue them from this horrific situation. If you're willing to compromise your own morals and ethics, just a wee bit that is. Thanks to the Hearthfire DLC, whenever Child's parents have passed away, either at the Dragonborn's hands or otherwise, they'll usually be sent to Honor All Orphanage in Riften, and can later be adopted. You can definitely see where I'm going with this one. Should the Dragonborn see to it that Lemkill suffers an accident, i.e. is murdered to death, after a few days both girls will show up at Honor All Orphanage, and can be adopted, presuming they didn't witness you kill Lemkill. If they saw you murder their father, they will be unavailable for adoption, for, well, obvious reasons. Once invited into the Dragonborn's home, you can begin to give these children the childhood they've been so deprived of. Now, interestingly, someone at Bethesda seems to have hinted at players to do something like this. As, if you haven't noticed, Lemkill, their father's name, is a clear anagram for kill me. Clever subliminal messaging by Bethesda. Now, whether or not you take their advice is entirely up to you. For third spot, people keep commenting this, and it's high time I feature it anyway. But as we all know, across Skyrim are various, perhaps even hundreds, of ore veins that the player can mine to collect raw resources. Simply walk up to any vein with a pickaxe in your inventory and press the interact button. Ores mined can later be refined into more pure resources, and then forged into weapons and armor, whatever you see fit. As many have pointed out though, you don't really need to walk up to a vein and press the interact button to start mining, because if you simply equip a pickaxe as a weapon and start swinging in the direction of a vein, it will add ore into your inventory, just as mining normally would. In fact, this method is much faster. Now, if you want to take this to the extreme, there's a shout known as Elemental Fury, which when used will increase the player's attack speed by either 50, 75, or 100% for 15 seconds, depending on how far within it you progress. Apply this shout when attacking an ore vein, and you'll be able to quickly mine it, almost up to 4 times as fast as you otherwise normally would. So if you're a Dova interested in smithing and forgery, hopefully you'll find some utility out of this one. Otherwise, well, I tried. Coming in at number 4, we're all probably very familiar with Reiklings. Goblin-like creatures native to Solstheim. They're typically hostile to the player, and known for having this primitive, almost Stone Age way of living in combat, but can still be pretty ferocious in large packs nonetheless. Well, their trademark weapon is the Reikling Spear, which they can either jab enemies with, or straight up hurl at them like it's a javelin. These spears can later be picked up by the player or human NPCs and then used as arrows. Funnily enough, however, the reverse is also possible. Since the game treats Reikling spears as arrows, if you fire an arrow at or nearby a Reikling, and it has higher base stats than whatever spear they're using, they may pick it up and then use that arrow as their new spear. Now, the animation and models themselves won't change, which is unfortunate because I thought that would be the coolest part. So if a Reikling picks up, say, a Daedric arrow and uses that as a spear, it'll still look like he's holding a regular spear, as the models and animations are again unimpacted. But this new arrow spear thing will still keep the same stats as a Daedric arrow, and deal considerably more damage than a normal Reikling spear, both when jabbed and thrown. Furthermore, if a Reikling picks up an arrow and begins throwing it at people, like most NPCs do with arrows, the Reikling will simply generate an infinite number of them and never run out. So next time you're using Dragonbone arrows in battle with these fellows, think twice. You may just find yourself getting a taste of your own medicine. And finally, last on our list, mudcrabs are territorial crustaceans that can be found all along Skyrim's riverbeds and coastlines. They're fairly weak foes, but they certainly have heart, and are oftentimes more adorable than they are frightening, being at worst a nuisance rather than an actual threat. While mudcrabs are hostile creatures, there does exist one in-game that can indeed become a rather cute friend. And no, I'm not talking about the one added in with the Creation Club. Let's never talk about that one. If you own the Hearthfire DLC and have a male child, one day after returning home, there's an ever so slight chance they'll have a mudcrab with them, and will ask the Dragonborn if, quote, we can keep him. Of course, being the head of household, from there you can either say yes or no. If you say no, then the mudcrab will disappear, never to be seen again. Though the correct answer is obviously yes. After doing so, the mudcrab can be seen either chilling out in the child's bedroom, or following your son around, and it will of course be entirely passive. The mudcrab's name will be Pincer, and he has extremely low health, so do be careful. He also doesn't really do anything but look adorable, though that's all we really ask. After all, he's family now, right? But with that, we are going to wrap up. 5 more things you probably didn't know you could do in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Which of the ones featured on this list did you find to be the most interesting, or already knew about? And what little things and activities do you know of in Skyrim that I've yet to cover yet? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Thanks for stopping by, everyone, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everybody.